There is a massive amount of hype around at the moment about the 2024 Toyota Landcruiser. The 2024 Toyota Landcruiser is going to be reintroduced into America, and there is all sorts of hoorah and yeehaw and videos flooding YouTube about the new 2024 Landcruiser. Well, sadly I've got some bad news for you. Why is the 2024 Landcruiser getting so much publicity around the world about its reintroduction to America? Basically because what you can see behind me is my much loved Toyota Landcruiser 2007, last of the 100 series. We love it. The places this boy has been. Why do we love it, mate? Why do we love our Landcruiser? Well, it's a V8, baby. It's got 3.5 ton towing capacity. It's had a big double horse float on the back, and I mean a big one that's got a tack room in it full of saddles and gear. Carries a couple of carries a couple of heavy horses. We'll be doing 110 kilometres an hour down the highway, the speed limit. And I'll look down at the speedo, oops, we're doing 130. That Landcruiser doesn't know there's a float and a couple of big boys in the back. It just wants to get up and go. Wonderful V8 vehicle. 100 series, can't bring myself to get rid of it. Why then is there all this hoo-ha about the 2024 Landcruiser coming back to America? What happened to the 300 series? There was a 100 series, ended in 2007, then there was a 200 series. Toyota couldn't make enough of them, they had to put an order in for them. Then there's all this hoorah, more hoorah, about the 300 series, except one small catch. The 300 series wasn't going to be released in America. Oh dear, why is that? Why is that? Much like why the Grenadier didn't get initially released in America, because they knew they would never be able to cope with the orders, and that's why the 300 series never got released in America. They can't make enough of them for the rest of the world. Australia. In Australia, when 300 series was going to be released, you put your order in, you have to wait at least a year, because we are so snowed under for the 300 series. And so how on earth could they ever release it in America? So you say, oh well, how come there's another Landcruiser 2024 model going to be released in America if they can't make enough 300 series? So, have you seen the movie Yentl? What on earth has Steve got sidetracked here with a Barbara Streisand movie based on I shudder, because you've got to be so careful what you say. People take offence so easily. It's a movie about a Jewish girl who wants to be a rabbi and isn't allowed to because she's a girl. So she has to pretend to be a man. Get where I'm going to, where I'm at? Because the 2024 Landcruiser that's going to be released in America is not a Landcruiser at all. It's not a Landcruiser, it's a Prado. And a Prado is a Yentl. A Prado is a girl that wishes she was a man. A Prado is a small, so the Prado is shorter than a Landcruiser, it's lower than a Landcruiser, it's not as wide as a Landcruiser, has a smaller engine than a Landcruiser, always has been. A bit of sneaky marketing in America, they're going to call it a Landcruiser, but it is not a Landcruiser, it's gender dysfunctional, it's not a Landcruiser. So why can I be even more assertive about it not being a Landcruiser? This is a V8. All the 200 series was a V8. What is the new Landcruiser, 2024 Landcruiser? Have I said that enough? That's going to be released in America. It's a 2.4 litre 4-cylinder. I shudder. With an electric motor attached to it. I don't know, I'm an old dinosaur. They tell me that the Jeep in America at the moment, that's a hybrid, they can't build enough of them, selling by the truckload, because during a week you use your electric motor and then you've got the petrol motor to go out bush bashing on weekends, and it's working out really well. But Australia, we have such enormous distances. Anyway, really that's all I wanted to say in this particular video, is about the new 2024 Landcruiser. Isn't a Landcruiser in the American version, it is a Yentl, it's pretend, it's a Prado, and a Prado is not and never will be a real Landcruiser. Landcruiser, where did it get its name? Just as if you're still with me here, do you know where the term Landcruiser comes from? If this video jumps around a bit, it's because there's enormous gusts of wind come through. That almost blew my hat off a minute ago. In the where did the term Landcruiser come from? In the late 1930s, Japan's preparing for war. The military need a four-wheel drive utilitarian type vehicle, so they produce one. It's quite successful, has a code name. Then World War II breaks out, and the Jeep, the American Jeep, becomes so well known, so successful. I'm making another video about the name Jeep and how it originally came to be. You can buy a Jeep now. Where did Jeep originally come from? Well, at the time, Japan thought, just after the Second World War, that the term Jeep was a genetic term, like toaster. You can call a toaster, but no. Trademark legislation was proposed against Toyota, but they couldn't use the term the Toyota Jeep. And so they decided, 1954, an engineer working for Toyota, who to me, his name is totally unpronounceable, he came up with the name Landcruiser. And so that is why in 1954, the original term Landcruiser came into being. And when they first started out, they were tough, hardy vehicles. In the 70s, the FJ40s, I think they were called, really tough, unbreakable, go anywhere. And they just kept that up, and then of course the 100 series, 200 series, 300 series, but during that time they also brought out the Yentl, aka the Prado. Okay, hopefully this isn't too butchered by the wind. We're going to wrap this up. Next video we're going to make is where the name Jeep came from. I'll leave it at that. Have a look at that video and see what you think. Rightio, mate? That's the end of it. Cheers.